You're listening to Briargrave Radio. Horror stories from the places the map forgot. The first time I noticed it, I assumed it was a glitch. That's probably what anyone would think, especially if you've spent years working around security systems. Cameras fail, software bugs happen, storage drives corrupt. There are usually explanations. At least, that's what I believed before I took the overnight security job at the Hawthorne Building. The Hawthorne wasn't abandoned. That's important. People hear this story and immediately picture a crumbling office tower with broken windows and boarded-up entrances. It wasn't like that. The building was occupied, mostly 12 floors, a law firm, an insurance company, 2 accounting offices, a handful of smaller businesses. During the day, it felt completely ordinary. The strange part was what happened after everyone went home. My shift started at 10 p.m. Most nights followed the same routine. Lock exterior doors, monitor cameras, walk the floors, fill out reports. Nothing exciting. Exactly how I liked it. About 3 weeks into the job, one of the cameras started acting strangely. Camera 12 covered a narrow hallway on the 7th floor. Nothing special about the location. No server room, no executive offices, just a hallway connecting 2 suites. Every morning, when I reviewed overnight recordings, the motion detection log showed activity around 3:18 a.m. every single night. The software would flag movement, but when I watched the footage, the hallway looked empty. At first. Then I slowed the playback, frame by frame, and there it was, for a fraction of a second. A person standing near the end of the hallway. The image appeared for less than 1 frame before disappearing again. It wasn't static. It wasn't distortion. It was clearly a person. The shape was unmistakable. Human height, human posture, standing completely still. The next frame showed nothing. The hallway was empty again. I checked older footage. The same thing had happened 6 nights in a row. Always 3:18 a.m. Always 1 frame. Always the same position. Most people would probably ignore it. I couldn't. Not because I was frightened, because it irritated me. I wanted to know what caused it. So the next night, I stayed in the security office waiting. At exactly 3:18, camera 12 triggered motion detection. I switched to the live feed immediately. The hallway appeared empty. Nothing unusual. Then the motion alert vanished. A few seconds later, I received another notification. Motion detected. Again. Same hallway. I rewound the recording. 1 frame. There it was. The figure, standing exactly where it always appeared, watching the camera. That's what bothered me. The posture. The figure wasn't facing down the hallway. It was facing directly toward the lens, as if it knew where the camera was. The following night, I went upstairs before 3:18. I stood in the hallway myself. Camera 12 watched from the ceiling. The building was silent. The air conditioning hummed softly through vents. Nothing moved. 3:18 arrived. Nothing happened. I stayed another 15 minutes. Still nothing. When I returned downstairs and reviewed the footage, my stomach tightened. The figure appeared anyway, standing behind me. Not close, maybe 30 feet away. The camera showed me alone in the hallway. Then, for 1 frame, someone stood at the far end. The next frame was normal again. I remember staring at the monitor for a long time, not scared, confused. I knew nobody had been there. I would have seen them. The hallway was straight, no side exits, no places to hide. yet the footage clearly showed another person. That was when I started noticing details. The figure always stood differently. Small changes. A shifted shoulder, a different tilt of the head, tiny variations, like someone becoming more comfortable. 1 week later, the figure appeared closer. Not much. Maybe 5 feet, just enough for me to notice. I reviewed older footage. The distance had been changing for days, very gradually. Almost impossible to detect unless you compared recordings side by side. The figure was moving down the hallway, toward the camera, toward me. I stopped telling myself it was a software problem after that. Not because I had another explanation, because software glitches don't move. I considered reporting it. Then I imagined trying to explain it to management. A ghost on a security camera? No thanks. So I kept watching. Every night. 3:18 a.m., 1 frame. A little closer. Around mid-November, the face became visible. Not clearly, but enough. A pale face, dark eyes, expressionless. The kind of face you'd pass on the street and never remember. The kind of face that somehow felt familiar anyway. One night, I printed a still image, took it home, set it on my kitchen table. I spent an hour trying to figure out why it bothered me. Then I realized the face reminded me of someone, not someone specific. Myself, not physically, emotionally. The expression, tired, detached, like someone waiting too long for something. That realization unsettled me more than I expected. A few nights later, the building manager called. He wanted me to review old archives after a tenant complained about missing files. The request sent me digging through recordings dating back years. That's when things became impossible. The figure wasn't new. The figure had appeared in footage from 2014, 2011, 2012, even older, always camera 12, always 3:18 a.m., always moving slowly toward the lens, across decades, 1 frame at a time. The oldest recording showed the figure so far away, it was barely visible. The newest recordings showed it halfway down the hallway. I calculated the progression. The result made my hands shake. At its current rate, the figure would reach the camera in approximately 3 months. I wish I hadn't done that math, because after that, I couldn't stop thinking about it. 3 months, 90 days. Every shift felt different. The hallway felt different. The building felt different. As though something had already happened and I was only waiting to catch up. January arrived. The figure kept moving. Closer. Closer. By then, facial details were becoming obvious. The resemblance bothered me more every week. One night, I made a mistake. I went back upstairs at 3:17. I wanted to stand where the figure usually appeared. I wanted proof. The hallway looked exactly as it always did. Quiet, ordinary, empty. Then every light flickered once. The building fell silent. Even the air conditioning stopped for maybe 2 seconds. Then everything returned. I looked toward the far end of the hallway and saw someone standing there. Not on camera, not in a recording, in real life. The same figure, the same face, the same posture. It stood perfectly still, looking at me. Neither of us moved. I wish I could tell you what happened next. Honestly, I don't know. The memory feels damaged somehow. The next thing I remember is sitting in the security office. The clock read 4:06 a.m. My shirt was soaked with sweat. Camera 12 displayed an empty hallway. I quit the following week. No dramatic confrontation, no investigation, no final answers. I simply left. That was 11 months ago. Yesterday, I received an email from a former coworker. The subject line was short. Thought you should see this. Attached was a screenshot from camera 12. Current date, current timestamp, 3:18 a.m. The figure had finally reached the camera. It was standing inches from the lens, looking directly into it, smiling. And behind the figure, at the far end of the hallway, another person had appeared, standing exactly where the first one had started. The new figure looked very familiar. It looked exactly like me. This has been Briargrave Radio. If tonight's story stayed with you, subscribe before the next signal comes through. And remember, not every place wants to be found.